What do we have to do to let other people in on the call?
This one. No, we can zoom. This one. Whenever it shows up, they'll show up here.
Okay, but do I have to do anything to
I'll do
sign
it.
them in?
I'll
You'll
do
do it, so you're paying attention then.
Yep.
Okay, I'm beginning tonight with my friend Mike. Mike's been working with me for 10 years of his life right now. And I believe that he's at the point where things have to get a lot better for him really soon, or he's going to go be a famous actor or something instead of spending more time with me. So that might be the best thing for him, being a famous actor. I think that that'd be an enjoyable life for him. But until that time, and as long as he's hanging out here with me, I want him to be the most effective and competent and enthusiastic and interested in paying attention to this and how this can be part of that the journey of the dream life that he has for himself, where this is a improving stepping stone from one aspect of life and maturity, and then the next one where you begin to prosper and achieve those potentials that you've had. Now, when you have transitional points in life, if you're actually moving in a continuous flow of opening into a deeper and deeper realization of who you are, and thus becoming more and more free in your experience of yourself and your expression and your interactions with others, because when you deal with life from an identity and a belief system that this body is you, and that the things that happen to you in life that is a memory that you don't really even know if it's true or not, it probably is, but what if you just showed up a second ago into this body, and then it feels like you've been here since the body was conceived, and you've got all those memories, and they're real as can be, and you've got all those things, all of those feelings in your body where it kind of hurts to be you. You have these tensions and these contractions and this sorrow and regret and discouragement and whatever it is that we own as part of our experience of what it is to be me, right? And there's a lot of things that you've been through in your life that would have been difficult for anybody to experience. How do you grow up in a environment where you're not given much of a chance to be right, to be guided into your realization of your personal mastery of what it is to be alive and to make choices and to make the right choices, the good choices, the ones that will make you a better version of yourself and make your interactions with others be ones where it's a pleasure for them to share time with you. And that can't be experienced until you let go of what's not that in you. And what that consists of is the things you were unwilling to experience that happened to you, pushing them away, trying to go unconscious to it, trying to be numb to it, trying to forget it. You know, whatever it is to get away. Okay? So everything that disables you is something that you largely were, hey Cal.
Can't hear you yet. Almost. No, I can't.
Can you hear me and see me?
Oh, there, I can hear you and see you. So I've begun the session already with Mike, and so we can continue, and when the other guys come on, they come on. They're 2 minutes late.
Well,
So-
John will be a few minutes late. I haven't talked to him, but he's not back home quite yet.
Would you do, now, Nathan may or may not have gotten the,
I sent them both, email and text.
okay, well, okay, if he's not on in 5 minutes, I want you to call him and say, hey, get on, okay?
All right.
Okay, so what we're discussing, I want to put it in such a way that it makes sense to you, that it's not mumbo jumbo, hocus pocus, you know, silliness, right?
Yep.
Because you're a guy who cares about whatever it is that you decide should happen, you get it done as well and as efficiently and quickly as you can. And that is, I don't know if I have a better example in my life of somebody who does that than you. And so you've got that part of life down in a really, really good way. The parts that lack in you in that is not understanding well enough for where the other person is. And when we assume that we can get more out of a person than what they're capable of giving, then it's not their fault, it's ours. You know, so in improving your game in life, I would say an area to focus on is really noticing who the other person is and how they're limiting themselves and how far they can push themselves, what they're really good at, and okay, is this guy going to enjoy our relationship only if they're doing what they feel capable of and what they're interested in doing and have some excitement in. And so sometimes the bowl in the china closet would be much more enhanced, because what you want, you want all of those things to get done professionally, efficiently, profitably, and you know, so that more can happen, more, better, faster. Why not, right? And so how we determine who to associate with, because if we associate with people that we like and we want them to play a part in business with us, and then they're responsible for something that that's not in their wheelhouse, and they're really not capable of doing without a lot of stress and effort and struggle, then there needs to be some more refinement to the business plan, you know, because how.
Can I jump in for just a second
Yeah,
to
of
just
course.
tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I've learned that more about myself in the last year or 2 years than I have before.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that we're having this conversation, because not everybody's me, and sometimes I forget that.
Yeah, you've got some gifts in who you are that for the point of view of survival and prospering, you know, it's a really good formula for you. You know, how you've enabled things to be natural and easy for you to communicate, you know, what you need and want. And so what I would like to do in our interactions, I mean, we've been friends for a long time, but we haven't been as good of friends to each other as we should, because, you know, sometimes we allow ourselves to be misunderstood and misguided in some way. And so I would like to say that whatever we do now and in the future, you know, let's find a way to do it in such a way that the anticipation of it, the planning and the, you know, we're excited because we're creating something and modifying it and transforming it until it's something that we feel really good about doing. And then the actuality of the journey of going through the tasks and the team building and then the execution of, you know, production and distribution. You know, again, how do we set it up in such a way that that is just fun and easy? How do we put together, you know, our standard operating procedure so that everything is conceived in such a way that the team that we have, or the team that we build upon, is exactly competent, each person, each role, in delivering that area of work product, a knowledge and experience and expertise that, you know, they've got that and they're down cold with it. So it'd be like asking John to help me sell some copper elbow supports on Amazon. You go do this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and then it's done. You know, no confusion about it. So how do we take Vital Xer and whatever else we do, and configure the structure and communicate the intention in such a way that we attract the right people that are happy to be in the position that they're in, and not in any level of confusion about whether or not they can do it or not. You know, they're right for the part. You know, so if we choose people that are the right for the part, instead of people that just happen to be hanging around at the moment you decide to do your new business, is what I always do. Anybody that's in the room is, yeah, okay, you could be something you have never been before and have no idea on how to do that and aren't really that excited about it. And so, you know, that's been kind of the hole in my game in team building. But, you know, I'm done with that. You know, I want to have people around me that really know how to do what I want done. You know, and that it's easy for them, and that they're excited about doing it, you know. So how can I create an environment where somebody that's really good at their job wants to work with me, with all of my inconsistencies? You know, because I'm probably a guy that's pretty unpredictable to most people, you know, I don't think there's very many people that could understand the way I live my life, you know. But the underlying intention is what is really real and true that the world doesn't know, that if it knew, would be the world that, you know, all the religions have pointed to. You know, that 1,000 years of the lamb lying down with the lion and nobody fighting, or everybody loving their life and appreciating all other life and consciousness, you know. So what don't we know about ourselves, about reality, about other people, that if we knew that experientially, not as an idea, not as a thought, not as a belief system or a theory, but as our actual experience of reality, what experience would we have to have for us to awaken from the dream, from the illusion, from whatever it is that takes a divine being living in heaven and having no limitations on consciousness or power or presence or whatever it is, all of the things that humans try to conceive of but really don't understand. But so what is it that a being like Christ, because Christ says he's your brother and you should probably believe him, so what happens when a being like Christ, and you're the being like Christ because he's your brother and he says you could do more and better than he did if you just wake up. So what is it about this world that seems to absolutely cut you off from any memory or experience or understanding of who and what you were before you were born, and who and what you'll be after your death? And if you have an eternity of experience as a unique, singular consciousness, regardless of your state of understanding and connection and universally present with everything that is, you know, because that's what Christ became when he said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. It's a point where there's no separation. There's a surrender to the universe and to eternity in such a way that you're not resisting anything. And so everything's free to flow through you. And if you're open enough for everything to flow freely through you, the only way that you can open up enough for there to be an unlimited free flow of consciousness is to have a universal awakening, you know, where there's, you know, if you look at the attributes that are given in trying to understand God as I guess as an individual, you know, so God as an individual is omnipotent, you know, he's all powerful. He's omnipotent, omniscient, so he's all-knowing, and he's omnipresent, which means he's everywhere, permeates everything. So if there's manifestation, let's say that the universe of time and space and matter, on the matter part of it, you've got waves of light, you've got You've got atoms that, you know, as you take it further down, again, it's just some sort of vibration in a particular space and time that's consistent. And so the actual matter of the universe might be zero. That everything that seems to be something is just a configured state of frequency and vibration, you know, within a particular form and structure. And that if that vibration stopped, it just simply wouldn't be there anymore. So it's consciousness. So everything that exists is consciousness considering itself to be something. So that's what creates everything that exists in the universe, is consciousness deciding to be something. And you can be a sun, you know, you can be a moon, you can be an earth, you can be an earthling like us. And everything in the universe is conscious at the level that it chooses to be. Because if in fact we're divine beings in actuality, and we kind of go unconscious, and when we come here, then everything that's true on earth is temporally true. It's true for a moment. Nothing lasts forever that's created. You know, it all has a transition point. You know, there's the thought, there's the movement and the creation, and then it's being something for a while, and then it starts transmuting or transforming into something else. And that just continues like a wave of consciousness experiencing itself from one creation to another as it evolves and changes form. But whatever it considers itself to be in each moment is what that consciousness gets, both as experiences of itself and as the mirror of what the universe is showing back to you and saying, hey, this is reality's experience of you. And so if other people's experience of you is not a pleasurable experience for you, then it's 100% your responsibility, because you're choosing who you show up as, and you're choosing who you're talking to. So what do you want out of life? You know, what do you want to achieve? And where do you want to achieve it? Who do you want to achieve it with? You know, and what are the good choices? And so that's what you're going through in your experience tomorrow, in your presentation. And so, it looks, I didn't notice, but it looks like everybody's here.
Hey,
So,
Dave, I want to share something with you. Because, you know, you turned me on to Neville Goddard, and
Yeah.
like I've been listening to him. I was listening to him like straight for like a month.
Yeah.
Like when me and Collie were in Utah, I was listening to him on the way up and the way, and I even put on his book. I didn't realize he had a book, but I went on YouTube and found a book that he had written. So a buddy of mine, he recently went through a lot of difficult times. Like he got in a car accident, and he just had a lot of stuff going on. And I shared Neville Goddard with him, and I told him, you need to listen to this guy. And I'm like, let me just give you a video. And I sent him one that I thought was like really, impactful and kind of tailored to what he was going through. And he called me back he actually called me yesterday. He sat down. First of all, this guy had written a book before, so he just really likes to write. Yeah. But he sat down and he wrote like a 7-page discourse on I am, because he just picked up from Neville Goddard. Just like it was kind of like an epiphany for him, you know.
Sure.
And it was really cool because I mean, he's from Haiti, so like, I don't know. I would just describe like everyone that he's surrounded by as like a more pedestrian level of consciousness, you know, like they're really surprised and like amazed by little
Yeah.
things that I would say that are just like I lived through like 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But he said it had touched his sister and all his family had just been reading it over and over and over. It's really
Wow.
waking them up and kind of like they're just really touched
Bravo.
by it. But I just thought it was super interesting that he just sent me this yesterday and he called me and he's like, dude, I just owe this all to you because you showed me this and it was at an amazing, like a perfect time for me because he's going through a lot of financial hardship and just stuff like that. And I'm like, just listen to this and just apply it to your life, you know, and
Yeah.
see if anything happens. And nothing financial's happened for him yet, but he just was out on the golf course and he's a golfer. He just loves
Okay.
golfing. He golfs all the time. And he broke 78. And I don't know, I guess that's a big deal for golfers to go under 80.
Yeah, yeah, I do it almost every time, but on the first nine.
Yeah. He was so like he was so what do you call it? He was just so amazed that like he just kind of envisioned things and like he was just kind of stepping into that consciousness and it really made a huge difference for him and he just used the golf thing. He was like, holy shit, this really works. And now he's like applying it into his financial side of his mind, you know, because I think that's the biggest part that we all have to overcome when it comes to abundance and finances is we have to step into that consciousness
Yes.
of like Collie has it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You and I
Yeah.
have talked about this. Collie has it. Like
Yeah.
you're just born with it. You know what I mean?
So what I would like to do, if all of you will indulge me, and Mike is here with me too, and so let's look at what I'm going to talk about from this point of view. We're all working together on one or more projects, and each one of us has a desire for those projects to be abundant and rewarding and successful and to be something that is worth it for our customers and for our families and so that we feel good about what we're doing and we feel good about what we do as a company and ourselves personally, you know, when we're doing it. And so what we want to achieve, I propose, since we've already made our bed, so to speak, you know, we all know that we're going to be working together and doing business together. So as a group with a purpose, then as a member of that group, my favorite thing in life is to you know, kind of be a coach on having an experiential understanding of the solution to whatever bit of life we want to transform into a better way of being for us. So in that light, what I'd like to do is talk about us sharing an experience wherein each of us having a personal experience of what we go through, we're permanently unburdened from what we've been allowing to hold ourselves back, to keep ourselves in check, to maintain whatever level of identity that came with, you know, a degree of confusion, a degree of accumulated traumas of one sort or another, and fears, and a whole bunch of belief systems that we carry around that really limit the potential for dramatic change, even certainly not miracles, and not even very many. Wow, that was lucky. That was easy. You know, this is fun. So how do we take this group of people that have several nice things in common? We're willing to let things get better for ourselves. And as funny as that sounds, that's what you have to have in each of your team members. Somebody that's done with condemning themselves for a past where they didn't live life the way they wish they would have. So what we're doing is we're changing the trajectory of that arrow in flight that's representative of who we are flying through life as. Who are we right now?
You're talking about quantum jumping. You're talking about stepping into the consciousness and the reality that you want to be in, which is a selection that we all make in our lives throughout every moment. Actually, like every second of our lives, we're kind of leaning into something that, whether or not, sometimes we want to go in that direction. Sometimes fear is like dropping us into that direction, right?
Sure. And so what I'm doing right now is kind of describing the map of that, and then to say, okay, so this is the subject we're talking about. This is how this is what works from my point of view, and then now let's experience allowing things to transform moment by moment for our, moving deeper and deeper into actualizing, the truths about us that we've forgotten, that as we open up and come back to ourselves in a remembrance of, those things that are eternally true about us rather than contextually true. So all that being said, that's might even be confusing. I said so many words about it. So we're having a team meeting right now, and what we want to achieve in this meeting is for each of us to have whatever realizations are actually real and true, that as we remember what those truly infinite possibilities are for us as a consciousness throughout eternity, how we choose moment by moment what kind of experience that we have as ourselves as a human. How much can we shift our identity? How much can we shift our awareness and our ability to communicate, our ability to transform our bodies, and our ability to go into damaged relationships and have each of you feel a love and a gratitude and a joy in life again, when you think of each other. So it's that time in our lives where we should be conscious enough of ourselves and of others to where we can begin to heal and transform and remember what it is to be the guys that where at the end of Christ's life he says, hey guys, don't worry, guess what? Greater works than I have done, which you were really impressed by for some reason, because I still wasn't then who I am now in terms of my realization, but because of that, and because you've seen what I've done and seen, the experience of life that I've been, that you're using as an example for your own opening and transcendence. And so all I'm saying is I've opened enough now to know that it can even get a lot better than it's been for me, for you. there's so much amazing unconditional love and glory and wisdom that, by comparison, each one of you guys can do better than I did, because I did the best that I can, but I didn't really figure it out until the last week of my life. And so I guess the purpose of my life is just to say, hey guys, whenever you're ready, be still, go inside, and stay there until what I said is your experience, and that's the kingdom of heaven lies within you. Now, I read that for 14 years of my life, and then I lived another 30 or 40 years of my life after that, and never said, well, that's the guy I grew up believing is the one that did it, that made it, that divinely self-realized, and yet he can say something really simple like, be still and know that ye are God's, and then that the kingdom of heaven is within you. So quit, looking outside yourself. Quit looking to me even. Quit looking to the church, quit looking to the books, quit looking to your friends, quit looking to philosophy, quit looking at anything. Close your eyes and be still. Don't wish for anything. Don't want anything. Don't push or pull on anything. Don't have any intention for anything to change in any way. Just have your intention on experiencing reality as it is before you try to fucking change it. Know what you're dealing with, especially yourself. So, yeah, it's simple, but you actually have to do it. And by do it, I mean, do you believe that if you had more experience, like the near-death experience people have, where you experience a love that's so unconditional that you can't hold on to fear anymore, that you can't hold on to confusion, that you see yourself for what you've been, while at the same time having that in a proper context as a momentary experience of a life within the eternity of divine truth of yourself? Because the only way that the kingdom of heaven could be within you is if the truth of you is divine. And the truth of you is divine. Pardon me? And if the truth of you is divine, then in some way, your experience of yourself, of you being you, exactly as you are, is the realization of a divine choice. Because there's nothing that can manipulate or control a divinely realized consciousness. So the only reason a divinely realized consciousness is experiencing itself other than that is because it chose to. So it's not a problem you being you exactly the way that you are. And the same for everybody else, the same for the entire world. The world is the way that it is because of all of the choices of everyone and everything, all put together, has the world being exactly the way it is right now. So it's exactly the way we all chose it to be for ourselves. Now, the interesting thing is, in an individual's experience of the world, the whole world changes when you do. And how do you change? If you have a map of reality that could be in a book written by somebody that says, here's how to successfully move through life. And that's what you do, and that's who you are, and that's who you experience yourself to be, then, okay, you're a successful life form. But is there a point in your life where you question who you are and say, I accept myself exactly as I've created myself to be, because every word that you said in life, you said, and everything that you could have said that would have been wonderful, that you didn't. And same thing with actions. Whatever you did, and whatever you didn't do, you didn't do. And wherever you were there because you chose to be. So we're 100% responsible for our experience in life. Because if we're spiritual and believe that, then we chose our parents and we knew the consciousness that they chose and the frequency and vibration of the church, of the community, of the friends, the family, everything. So you knew what you're going to be subjected to as a defenseless baby, and how how life was going to be explained to you, and so you took everybody's shit and made a cake out of it, and you're living your life accordingly, and but on the people who truly transform, and you go, wow. You know, and one person comes to mind to me on that made a big difference, because I remember when Muhammad Ali and Frazier and everybody else was afraid of who am I talking about, Colleen? My mind just...
Another boxer?
Yeah, the guy that beat up everybody. And
Mike Tyson.
No, that fought Muhammad Ali and Frazier and George Foreman.
George Foreman, okay.
So George Foreman, back in the 1970s, was a flippin' killer consciousness. He wanted to destroy whoever he was fighting, and he was mean, and he was hateful. And he is one of the most delightful people in the world today. I guess he just died. Did he just die?
Yeah.
So,
But I agree with you in using him for an example, because he was the biggest jerk in the world and the biggest sweet, gentle giant in the world when he changed.
yeah, he transformed from one extreme to the other. From miserable and hateful to loving and enthusiastic, and a joy for everybody to spend a moment with him. Can you imagine that? How was there a transformation from a miserable hatefulness, desire to destroy, into a presence where everybody in the world would feel honored to spend lunch with him, right? And so if that can happen to him, and Christ said you could do better than he did, and the kingdom of heaven lies within, I think George Foreman found the kingdom of heaven that lies within to a very significant degree. If you can put significance on spirituality, which you can't. All I'm saying is that he found the truth of himself that erased his past. And if he can find the truth of himself that can erase a past of choosing a role of hatred and a desire to destroy, into one that loves every moment of his life and enjoys every person he's with. So that's what happens to those people who have near-death experiences. They die, they experience one or more beings, and the experience of them without the body, without that filter. But they have whatever that spiritual body is. They have, their mind and their consciousness there away from the body, and they're the same person, so to speak. But what they feel in that interaction is a love so powerful and so profound that it heals them of all of their traumas, of all of their fears, of all of their confusion. And that seems to happen to nearly every one of them that I watch on the internet. And they come back with, as a changed person, as a person who now chooses to be of service to the world, and whatever they're good at, they do, and they love it, and they love to communicate their this newfound freedom of what it is to actually know yourself as love. And so that's what transformed George Foreman, was experienced love as him. That the truth of him, underneath everything else, was a consciousness that loved all life, all beings, everything in the universe, just like God. If God is everything other than something, which is an interesting way to put it, and that everything that isn't something now has the freedom to give a place for whatever consciousness wants to be a thing, all the way from a single atom or ray of light up to you. So, if God permeates every atom, every wave, every frequency, every vibration in the universe, and gives a place for it to experience itself, then there isn't an atom in your body that isn't surrounded on all sides by the unconditional love of God. And that if you open to experience whether or not that was true, the we that we've been would cease to exist, because it's a fabrication, it's a creation, it's a construct, it's a role, it's an identity formed by belief systems and thoughts and judgments. And so the only way being a man could be a better version of Christ than Christ, which is what Christ was saying you could do, the only way for that to be true is for everything that's true about you contextually to burn off in the light of that truth that Christ embodied at the end of his life. Now that's getting really far afield of the original purpose of my having this as a team building experience. But let's take it to a practical application right now. So whatever it is that's contributed to configuring to your experience of yourself, that creates a feeling within you that's uncomfortable. And whether it's a confusion or a pain or a trauma, whatever it is that makes you pull away from it, shrink away from it, or try to forget about it, or try to just minimize it as much as possible so that it doesn't create too much havoc in your life. So those are the only things that hold us back. And Kali, I want to compliment you again, because you're a good example for all of us. Because all we really have to do is choose to be present and to pay attention. And Kali's really good at that. Noticing. And so you can utilize that ability. So Kali, if you in particular did to your experience of yourself what you do in your execution of your to-do lists, if you use that on your experience of yourself, you get rid of everything that confuses you or to make you question yourself if you're doing the right thing or not. You just be open and aware to the point where you see reality exactly for what it is, so that you don't treat it any other way than you treat something at a particular level of beingness or consciousness. You say, oh, well, that's an apple and it's on my counter, and yeah, it's mine to take a bite off if I want, right? Different circumstances, somebody else's apple, you don't do it. You know, but the point is that pain that you experience, if you close your eyes and whatever be still means, be still, and then since we all are familiar with Christ and don't resist that idea too much, you know, close your eyes, be still, and be open to experiencing whatever the kingdom of heaven is within your experience of yourself. And anything that has to do that, you have to open, be willing to experience it. And what's between you and the full experience of that is everything you've ever resisted or avoided or tried to go unconscious to. Tried to, you know, had something really bad happen and it became a trauma for you because you resisted it, because you kept pushing it away. You didn't take your medicine and whatever it was. So whatever it is that you feel right now that's a tension or a pain in your body, just go to it. Be willing to be present with it. Not to do anything about it, but just be present with whatever level of suffering it is that has your attention, whatever body part it's in, whatever it is, just say, oh, okay, this one's asking for my attention. And just be present with it. Be willing to understand it by feeling it. And that's all it takes to move from who you are to who you really are. Being willing to experience being present here as you without resisting anything. You're not resisting any thoughts. You're not resisting any frequencies or vibrations. You're not resisting any sounds. You're sitting here in reality, seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing in whatever way exactly what exists. And you're paying particularly to the sensations that you have in your body. And you sit with them and be present with them, allow them to be exactly what they are. It's kind of like you're giving them all a very light hug, you know, a little bit of, yeah, I'm here, and I'm here to understand what's going on. So tell me all about it. And you sit with that experience that has been one that you've been suffering from or resisting maybe most of your life. And so whichever one has your attention, do that right now. Be present with it. Notice the more that you're present with it, it kind of moves around and it's guiding you almost like spaghetti, you're running through a tunnel of experience of everything that finally resulted in you being uncomfortable in your body. And so it's kind of like you're on a journey. You embrace the pain. You're relaxed into it so that you could understand it. Now the pain's taking you on a journey back to its source. And through every experience, every time you ever resisted this, it's pulling you back through all those experiences and releasing you from the resistance that you had that, shifted your life negatively in terms of how conscious and self-aware you were. And now it's moving to a point where it's moving in harmony with you now. And this is the point that you can release that hug, release that embrace and say, thank you. Thank you for asking for my attention. Be willing to share this uncomfortable experience with me, and to do it in such a way that neither one of us are uncomfortable anymore. Yeah, feel how that's, whatever it is there in your gut, that knot is just sort of melting or unwinding, unraveling, whatever it is, it's freeing up. Yeah. Oh, feel that. There's relief. Relief in your intestines, in your stomach. Wow. And why shouldn't there be? You have good intentions for yourself. You have good intentions for others. You want the world to be a better place for everyone. So how can you do that if you're in suffering in your experience of your own body and the history of your life? You can't, You have to come to peace internally first before you can go out in life and slay the dragon, so to speak, You got to have personal integrity, and what that means is to not be self-sabotaging anymore. Not to delude yourself with dreams that none of them are beyond your reach, but how many experiences can you have in one moment? What are the ones that are important to you, so that you optimize your life in such a way that if you do it perfectly tomorrow and you lay your head down on your pillow to go to sleep and you realize that these are your last moments, and you look back on tomorrow as tomorrow night, and you say, kind of like Jesus, I got it on my last day.
I just want to have fun the rest of my life.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's why we're here. I think we're just here to kind of express ourselves and have as much fun in the process as we can.
Okay.
Without going into excess. You know what I mean? I don't mean like have drugs every night, go, coke out, do stupid stuff like that. I mean like have actual joy
from
Yeah.
like working with others that you
And
enjoy?
and that's
helping
why
others?
that's why you're part of the team, because
I don't know.
you know how to enjoy life better than the rest of us. So I I haven't enjoyed my life very much, and I'd really like to. And I really enjoyed it when you guys came down and visited, and so yeah, it'd be. I I think that one of your roles is to say, you know, what do we each really like in life, and you guys that can't quite figure out how to treat yourself well enough to do the things that you love, you know, I'll kick you in the ass about that, because if you're not having fun, and if you're bumping the rest of us out by sitting in your traumas, you know, let's go water skiing. You know, let's go for a bike ride. Let's go to the gym. Let's go have a beer, and whatever it is. But yes, we should be doing every day, hours a day of stuff just for the fun of it. Absolutely. And
Well,
I'm really bad at that.
I'll tell you this about you. You've got a lot better at it in the last couple of years than you have
Yeah.
in the 35 that I've known you.
Yeah, because I'm willing to have a girlfriend, even if it's weird, and have fun with that. Yeah, and I'm willing to shift the way that I've been being, so that I can live life more effectively, you know, so I can do the things that I really want to do and live the way I want to live. And so, yeah, I'm treating myself better than I ever have right now. And as a result of that, I'm able to do more and be better for the people that I interact with. Because if I can't treat myself right, you know, how could I ever do anything worthwhile for you?
So what was your intent to bring us together on the call tonight?
Okay, I was working with Mike to begin with.
Michael Gray?
No, Mike Leno here.
Mike Leno.
Just today.
There's Mike.
Okay.
What's up, Mike?
Hi.
Okay, so Mike and I have been working together for 10 years, and I know from Mike's point of view, you know, he's saying, hey, I've seen you do a lot of stuff, and good stuff, bad stuff, and I know you can make a lot of money, and I want to make a lot of money. I don't just want to be paid by the hour for doing some graphic design stuff. I want to get rich. And I said, okay, so if you don't mind me being frank, there's a lot of things that you've allowed you to diminish yourself that you haven't confronted. And if we confronted those experientially, so that you were free of them, so that you don't allow yourself to be suppressed anymore, then the things that you do that cause yourself problems, you're not going to do that anymore. And so you're going to be more valuable to me. You're going to be in a position where you're willing to receive more and be successful, so you can help me with the marketing on the web for Relief 7OH. And if you do that effectively, you can go from making a modest living by the hour to making an awesome living, you know, through being really productive and bringing in sales. So that what we were beginning to do again was something that was close to what we were just saying, because life in some ways was really difficult for Mike when he was young all the way up till now. And so when you live with very, very strong personalities that have a really strong opinion about life being just so, and they insist that everybody around them share their exact opinion and experience, regardless of their own perceptions and experience, then how do you, as you're moving into now having your own life, how can you release the influences on who you've become from that previous environment? And you do that by what I was talking about before. So there's a sense of self where you can feel who and what you are. And you can feel how these different levels of pain and suffering in yourself from allowing yourself, your universe, to be collapsed by somebody else's words or actions. And again, you sit with that, and as you sit with it long enough, and choosing to be present with it, choosing just to witness it and feel it, that whatever that is, even if it's been a lifelong suppression, you can be free from that, and your heart can open, and your fears can go away, and that experience of saying, this is the best life can be for me, that shifts. So, and again, I don't know if that's a very good answer to your question, but if you take everything that I said as kind of an orientation for understanding what it is I do and how I do it, then the next stage of that, whether it be another phone call or another few minutes here, would be to say, okay, let's let all those words go and all that orientation go and feel our own heart right now. And be okay, whatever it is that you feel there. If there's any dams in there, any regrets, you feel them and let them go. As quickly as they appear, you embrace them and let them go at the same time. And as you do that, moment by moment, the flow begins. And then you just let it continue. And your heart opens, and you let go of everything you ever judged, everything you ever resisted, and in that unburdening, the end result of that is, a rebirth. A new you, which isn't really a new you. It's just one that took a shower, so to speak, and washed off all of the experiences of life up until this moment, so that you have a clean start again. And if we each have that, then we're the best versions of ourselves, for ourselves and for whatever team we're on.
So you're saying let go of all the hang-ups that we have right now, so that when we walk into this cooperative, co-creative experience, that we can be the best version of ourselves, because we're not holding on to all the baggage that we have.
Yeah. It's not you becoming a better version of yourself. You do, of course. But let's say that there's one regret that you have in life that just bothers you every time you think of it, and that if you willingly were present and experienced that regret instead of pushing it away every time it comes up, if you just handle it once, by owning it and experiencing everything it wants to communicate to you. And then understanding that, remembering at the same time you're experiencing all this condemnation from yourself or someone else. You remember that that the only thing that's real about you eternally is divine presence and consciousness. And so as you remember that, as you're experiencing whatever those sorrows and regrets and pains and sufferings are that hold us back from full, free self-expression, if you experience everything that you're experiencing in your life and saying, oh, it's not for this sense of self, it's not for this identity even. This is for God to experience. God experiences every atom in the universe. And everything that I'm feeling, everything that I'm identified with, everything that's traumatized me, everything, all of that isn't even for me to experience, even though that's what I've been practicing the last hour, is feeling it and embracing it and letting it go and all that. But the next level of that, once you understand that process, is that you don't have to do that. All you have to do is feel what it is to be you. And flipping God is around every inside and outside of every atom. God's saying, let me feel it. So whatever it is your identity is, don't worry so much about it. Just notice that if you look at it, the kingdom of heaven is with you, and that every atom of your existence is surrounded by it, and anything that you're experiencing consciously or physically, mentally, spiritually, anything is there for God to experience. Let God experience it. Quit hogging it for yourself and share. Yeah. Your life, the reason Christ was divinely realized is he realized that his body was for God to experience the world with, not him. Not the man Jesus. The man Jesus realized that the body Jesus was there for God to be present consciously through that body. And as the identity that the body had, that body identified consciousness of Jesus, he said, oh, what am I trying to be here? I shouldn't be trying to be anything except present in this body, allowing God, noticing that God is embracing everything that there is here already. And so if you notice that God's giving you and your body the hug of hugs, every atom of your existence, can you just enjoy that for a minute? Allow yourself to have a sigh and enjoy some relief. Yeah, fuck, why not? What, that's it? I mean, a lot of religions and holy men and gurus and stuff said something really close to that, like, hey, quit trying to be anything. Just experience what is. But for me, if they would have said, hey, quit thinking you're something you're not. The only thing that's real about you is the consciousness that animates the body. The body's not you at all. But the consciousness, yeah, that's you. All you know for sure about anything is that you're conscious. And if the consciousness is trapped in a body that's in any way disabled, and the consciousness is in a state of confusion, but the consciousness has had enough experiences to know that there is such a thing as divinity, of God, of salvation, of realization, of enlightenment, whatever it is that describes for you that experience of absolute freedom of presence, of consciousness, the freedom from identity, the freedom from thoughts, the freedom from beliefs, so that you can be present as whatever it is that's eternally and universally true of you. And that nothing else colors that picture except the stuff that's true about you eternally. So if that were just a slight shift of noticing, of consciousness, and you knew how to do that, and you actually chose to remember yourself right now, what would that be like? Oh, kind of like that. Well, enjoy that for a minute. Enjoy being the truth of you that is universal, is eternal, that wasn't created by somebody else on earth in unconsciousness, in confusion, in anger, whatever. None of that has to define you, or should define you, not to yourself. You don't have to agree with this reality about who and what they think that you are. But as you be still and experience that kingdom of heaven with you, and you allow the transformation to occur like George Foreman did, then who can we be here? And how fun would it be to be us? It'd be a lot funner for me to be that version of myself than this one. And so that's why I'm doing this, because I forgot to get in line for the fun part of life when I got configured, and so I'm getting.
So you want to have fun now?
I'm getting in line for that. Yeah, I'm ready to wake up in the morning and say, oh, thank God, now I can go do something that I love, something that's fun, something that makes me go, God, I love being me. I love being me. I love doing what I'm doing. That would be fun. If it can be everything that I'm doing and everything that I'm saying. In other words, if I can awaken enough, if I can be wise enough, if I can be real enough to bring a little bit of that absolutely true reality that the kingdom of heaven is within me, that somehow that can be real in my experience of self in such a way that I start having fun with life.
All the time.
I start loving being me, and I can finally be a person that other people go, there's something about Dave, I really like him. I would like to have that effect on everybody. So, yeah. So I appreciate you guys letting me ramble on this way. And I hope that you notice that some of the things that I asked you to do, to the degree that you did them, that there was actually an experience there that is worth exploring further. And so that's what I'm focused on for myself. is doing these types of sessions every day. Again, I've taken quite a vacation this year. I've done very few. But this experience, if I do this every day, then it doesn't take very many days in a row until I'm living at a level where I really enjoy being me, and that's the fun that I want to have the rest of my life, is to be in love with me, being in love with everyone and everything else. So.
No, Dave, I relate some of this with some of my deeper thoughts of when I have been, whether I've gone to Mexico on mission trips over the years or to Africa on mission trips. I always go with the hopes that I can bring a little bit of my intelligence, my heart, my ability to mentor people. And then I go and I spend the 2 weeks on the mission trip.
Yeah.
And I find out I was loved and mentored and shown kindness by those people I went to do those things to.
Yeah.
And I always feel more blessings when I come back, that I was blessed so much more.
You got more than you gave.
Yeah. And I really bring that up as an example because I see that in you. You know, you make businesses so you can make some money. So when people approach you to give them a session, you never want to charge them, you just want to love them.
Yeah.
And I really think that it's being more authentic and more kind and focused on love. I will tell you, even back when I was the deacon at my church and very involved and so on, I still really had some complaints in my head of what I was doing, going to church. Some things didn't feel too right. I felt too close to the underbelly of the church, so on. Whatever excuse I may have given, right?
Right.
Whatever. And then in the last year, I started thinking how awesome it was when I went to church, because nobody's making me pay an admission to go in. Sure, they ask if you have it to tithe, but nobody's making you pay an admission. And they're telling you stories out of the Bible about God and about Jesus, and just trying to show love and kindness. And I look at it when I leave and I'm like, that was such a blessing. I didn't get charged for this. These people, because sometimes I found myself judging when I left.
Mm-hmm.
They said this, they did this. And now I just look at it of what a blessing it is for somebody to invite me into their building and share God's love, and really didn't ask anything in return except to just pay it forward, basically, or show love. And so I appreciate that you're doing that, and I admire it. But more than that, I just want you to know, I take heed in what you say when we're taking time out like this, because you know, further back you knew me, the more I was probably judging you than loving you when you tried to share those things with me.
Yeah, no, it's easy to, because it's very, very easy to trap ourselves when we're doing well in life, because you know, a lot of people that are very successful that aren't very smart. They just got into doing something and they do it every day and it works. And I'm being successful financially is a trap, because it can be a trap, because we get proud of ourselves and we quit stretching ourselves in other ways that we would if we were suffering. And so if you're doing really well and life is working for you, you have a profitable business, and it enables you to support your family so that the family's happy financially, and you're able to, go on vacations and, have a nice life. It's very nice to have a nice life. And maybe that's all we're supposed to experience in life. If you're going searching for enlightenment instead, hey, if nobody's enlightened, why should you be? Why not? Why not find out how to behave in life and behave that way and get the rewards for doing that? And, and obviously that's what most people choose. And I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. But for whatever reason, for me, I've had experiences where it makes this world an obvious dream. It's a way of asking your consciousness to focus in such a way that that you completely forget yourself, and you get put into a role in a play or a movie called The Game of Life, and you move through that completely unaware of what's real until the movie's over. And then you walk out of the movie and you go, oh, well, okay. I spent a lifetime doing what? And
so I want to point this out to you because I want to compliment you on this, because I don't know that I've ever told you it, but I watched it happen and really recognized you as a job well done. Because keep in mind, I've known you a lot more than half your life.
yeah.
And I remember when you would talk about your mom and dad and your family, whether it was your brothers or sisters, basically they were all a bunch of Mormon morons who didn't know what the hell they were doing.
That's what I felt.
Yeah. And then when you started digging deeper into your enlightenment, you created a loving relationship with your parents that somewhat blew my mind, because I had heard,
when I met you, from the time I was 2 years old until shortly after I met you, I couldn't stand being with my dad. He made me feel so uncomfortable. I couldn't be in the room with him longer than about 10 minutes before I'd get mad at him and have to leave, with him doing nothing. I waited until I was like 45 years old to figure out how to love my dad. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you my experience with that. And it was a long time before I loved my dad. And I just really felt like I loved him 2 weeks before he died, because we went on a road trip together. But I'll tell you, this is what I used to say all the time. to know that I was right, only to realize I wasn't. He was the grown-up in the relationship, and he was the one that was coming with more experience than me. And he screwed up things so bad, I don't owe him anything. But, you know, right before he died, we were in St. George, Utah, and his sister said, "Will you take a walk with me?" My dad made us promise not to tell anybody he was dying when we went on this road trip, so we didn't. And she said, "I know you and your dad have had a tough time. I just want you to say, you don't know all the hardships he's had. And he loved you kids, even though it didn't seem like he showed it. Just forgive him and love him." And then she got on to, you know, he spent 8 years in the World War II and the Korean War as a Marine on the front lines, killing people and watching people die, his best buddies. They charged an island, and there were 93, 96 of them charged the island. They had enough rations for 2 days. They were on the island for over 60 days, and 6 of them came off. So imagine what he went through. And she said that to me, and then I realized, because we all have a little child inside ourselves.
Yeah.
I know I have a talk with mine often, and so did my dad. And he was probably battling with things, and I just learned to forgive him. And what that showed me was love, because I spent a long time being poor and going through my headaches before I was successful. So I figured, if I could do it, why can't everybody? And if they can't, then it's on them and not me. And so I appreciate your last hour and a half on the phone talking with us, because what I really got, what you're saying, is love more and judge less. And you can be as loving and do as good as things as Jesus Christ. The opportunity's yours, but you've got to get rid of all that baggage.
And to get rid of it, the secret is doing nothing. It's really weird, you know. Be still means do nothing. The kingdom of heaven within you means forget about everything, do nothing, and pay attention to your experience of yourself. And then with the choice to experience the kingdom of heaven in the midst of whatever those tensions and traumas and belief systems and everything that makes it uncomfortable to be human. You know, that when we hold on to things, we damn ourselves, you know, and it suppresses us. And so yeah, I would, you know, if you guys are interested, I'm going to start doing a group one once a week, and for, you know, anybody that wants to attend, and that's the purpose, and the intention is to have permission to suffer, really, you know, to experience that suffering we never allowed ourselves to experience, that we were never willing to be present with. And that in the experience of that, just for a moment, just so that there's a complete experience of it, gives it the completion, so that it can transform and transcend and no longer be a part of your experience. And in that release from that, you now are conscious where you used to be unconscious, present where you used to be unpresent. And so you have a more whole experience of whatever the actuality of the truth of you is. So you want to remove all of the experiences of life that cause you tension or sorrow or regret or whatever, and they're all feelings that if you just be still and pay attention, you'll feel them. You don't have to go searching for them. They'll be right there. So all you have to do is be willing to be present in your own body and stay conscious to it without doing anything about it. Everything will transform, everything will transcend, and you'll remember what it's like to be you, as defined by whatever it is that knows you completely when you don't have a body. So what we're doing is saying, okay, yeah, we're going to do all the business, and at the same time, we're going to know, what it is to experience yourself truly, fully, completely, intimately, and eternally, Bring that experience of eternity into the presence. Bring that experience of the universality of whatever that self is that's universal. Whatever it is that's real about you, that's before time and space, and time and space exist within. Gives place for time, gives place for space. So as you hear that description, consciously you can sample. All you have to do is relax into it, and you can open and experience what that is. And the more of it that you experience, the more of it that you come home to whatever's actually eternally real and true about you. So George Foreman did it, I think, by focusing on Jesus, and Jesus did it by going out into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights and fasting and saying, I'm sitting here until I know. Maybe that's a program that should be started up. There's your spot. Go sit there until you know.
Yeah.
But at any rate, so Nathan, you haven't said anything.
Man, you're golden, man. I love listening to you. There's an incredible energy to the words, and just the common sense of everything that you're saying. I totally connect with it. I want to go and find the people that are important to me and be like, man, I gotta introduce you to this guy named David Newman, because you're profound. I've never met anyone like you, ever. And I've studied all of the great personal development experts, even worked for them and all that stuff. And you sit back and you get mesmerized by a Brian Tracy over here, or Earl Nightingale, or Norman Vincent Peale, or Adele Carnegie. And
so you're saying I should get out there in front of the camera and say some shit?
I think yours is like more of a labor of love, but I would love to. I think that, it's special. It's a special talent, man. I'd love to expose people to it, because I really connect with it from the standpoint of I'm the type of person that has to meditate. I've gotten away from that every morning. Instead of meditating, and I just get up and I hang out with my wife in the morning for about an hour, and then I just work beeline for work, and I skip meditation, you know, and just kind of like trying to dial in more of who I am and what I'm really all about, and it keeps going to that place where like I relate with you because you want to give this to people, you know, you feel like, you know, you need to, you know, be their, you know, their mentor, their helper in the world, you know, yet you have to kind of be abundance yourself to even give that to people, right?
Of course.
And I feel like I'm like you in a bad way, where it's like these people in this community, I care about them and what we're doing more than I actually care about myself. And it's like that, what I was telling you about, I need to put the oxygen mask on me first, and then I can put oxygen masks on other people.
Well, I think you're doing the right thing with these two guys, because they know. I think they're the missing pieces for bringing into manifestation the unrealized potential of your business. And I don't think the moves are going to be that fundamentally dramatic. You know, there's a tweak here, a tweak there, a tweak there, a tweak there, and then Collie will say, hey, here's the operating points, and here's how that's going to be achieved, and here's the new people and that are necessary, and it has to be the absolute right choice on each one, because it's like I say, and you know, in the projects that I do, everybody has to be better than me, because I'm a bit of a fuck up. And so I'm okay at conceiving something and analyzing it and finding ways to maximize it. I need somebody to actually do it. You know, because unlike Collie, I have to have some other arms and legs that can take the actions that I know need to be done, that for whatever reason I can't force myself to do. So I need a competent team to help me on execution, and so that's why Vital Extra is going to be cool and fun. I was going to do that on my own, but I know that once we get going on that, a year later it'll be twice as successful. That my having a third of it will be twice as good as the best.
That's right.
Best I could have done on my own.
I believe that. I agree with that, David.
Yeah, and so, you know, it could be better than that, especially with two guys that I like. You know, that I wish I'd come here for a weekend every month.
Yeah, I'd love to make that happen quickly. You know, like to make that journey and just come. You know, I think more just for myself, right? Because going through everything that I've been through in the last 5 or 6 years, and you know, just my life has changed a bit, and you know, I feel that I'm like right at that place where I'm ready to have a breakthrough and reach a new level of maturity, right? You know, I mean, the last 30 years, I mean, everything is like, everybody has a reason why they do what they do, so they can do what they love. My reason was to take all that money and invest it into $300,000-400,000 in recording equipment, right? In guitar collections and amplifier collections and music experiences, because I thought that was what my dream really was. And then I kind of became a dad, right? Just a lot of that for me, right? But I got stuck in this place where you're like, is that what I really wanted out of this? Oh man, now I feel like I'm reaching a new level of maturity where I know better what I really want, instead of being that 14-year-old kid that all he wanted to do was jam with his brother and have the concert venue and be the star of the show and be the concert promoter and be the guy. You know, as much as I wanted, I realized that I didn't want to be the guy, right? Although sometimes you don't have a choice. You just have to, you know, it's like a survival mechanism. But
I would.
You have to survive.
Yeah. So I was telling you a story before the session when we were on the phone. Hey, Cal, you remember when I gave you a ride from Phoenix down to Tucson?
Yep.
I don't know if I told you about this afterwards, but, you know, there's been a kind of double handful of times where I was supposed to come out and do this as me going out into public like Joe Dispenza. And each time I ran away. And that night that I dropped you off was the time that I ran away. There was, I can't remember what the group was, but it's a group of people who are focused on the process of becoming enlightened, you know, awakening and transcending. And anyway, I used to get a monthly email from them, and they have an annual convention every year in Tucson at the Marriott Resort there, about 15 miles away from where you were staying. And so I dropped you off and I started driving back to Phoenix, and I thought, oh, I'm in Tucson. And they talked about this Marriott Resort there and how there was some vortexes on the mountain behind it, and how they had that because of the energy of that place, and how beautiful it was to meditate there. So that's where they chose, as a worldwide group, as the spot that they wanted to have their conference each year, because of how they experienced it as an energy and a place for them to share with each other. And so I looked up the address of that place and drove there. And by the time I got there, I think it was maybe 8 o'clock at night or something. And so I parked in the parking lot, went through the hotel, and found a trail in the back that went up the mountain, and went up there and sat down and meditated and took a couple of puffs of marijuana, which I do sometimes to help me surrender more easily in meditation. It's a crutch, but it's one that works for me. And so I meditated for an hour or so, and then I went back down to get in the car and go home. And on my way out of the hotel, I saw a sign with the day's events on, and that convention was happening right then. And by now it's like 9:30 or so, and I think, I wonder if they could still be having anything going on this late. So I went up to the convention area, and everything was shut down. And so, again, I decided to go home. And there was this wide hallway, about 20 feet wide, that was a branch. And I'm walking back from the convention area across this hallway, and down the hallway, 50 or 75 feet, there's a couple of couches and a bunch of chairs, and there's a group of people sitting there talking, and one of them stands up and says, "Hey, we're over here." You know, I thought I was somebody else. And so I walked over and sat down with them. And it was the leaders of this group, you know, people from around the world. And they were talking about different issues and struggles and things in their processes of opening up and awakening. And so I sat there, and the woman next to me asked the group a question. And Nobody had the answer. And so somebody else brings up something, they start talking about that, and I lean over next to the woman and I said, I can help you out with that if you like. I can help you move through that. And she said, when? And I said, well, you know, if you want to do it right now, we can do it right now. And so I kind of guided her kind of in the way that I've been talking tonight, but she had a particular issue where she was over-identified with her sense of self and trying to shift that fabricated identity to the next level of consciousness. And she was just doing things backwards. And so I said like this, and she did it. But I noticed as I was explaining it to her, the other people talking stopped talking, and they started listening to me guide her through that. And then they each started asking me other questions. So I sat there for about another hour and answered all their questions. And I knew the answer to every one of their questions. It was just like I showed up there to be the way that they could receive the answers. And so it was getting late, and so I said, hey, I've got an early morning, and I got to get back to Phoenix still tonight. And the guy that was in charge of the deal, he says, you're not here for the conference? And I said, no, I know who you guys are, and I'm here because I remembered you guys talking about how great it is to meditate on the mountain. And so I was passing through Tucson, and I came up here to do this, and just happened to see that your conference is going on, and came over and sat down with you. And so he said, no, you can't go back to Phoenix. I want you to stay the rest of the conference, and I want you to speak at our dinner tomorrow to everybody. And there were more than 1,000 people there. I think it was like 3,000 people. And I said no. And I've had even better opportunities than that I said no to. Opportunities where I could have worked with people who had influence over 1 billion people. Direct, clear, real influence. And I've shied away for it and said no every time. So when I was talking to Nathan, I said, I'm doing a session for Cal and John, and I'd like you to do it because, one, since we're all going to be working together and we want to have the best possible experience, I think I can help guide each of us individually and as a group into a place where everything goes smoothly between us, where we understand each other and are excited to contribute and to be a part of what we're doing. And I want to do that because besides the fact that I want to have that shared good experience with you guys, I want to step into doing what I've been running away from all these years and taking responsibility for what you said, that I've got a gift that I should be sharing, and so yes, I'm ready to come out of the closet, so to speak, and
So let me. I knew that story, but I didn't want to interrupt you because I wanted the other guys to hear it. Because I remember us spent quite a bit of time talking about that one night. But I want to give you a different perspective, and that is as cool as that would have been and the opportunities, and the opportunity it gave you that evening, that night, that meeting in the hallway and meeting all those people, I think now that was a time that maybe you weren't ready for that, and God knew you were in the throes of making this happen, and didn't want.
It was a
Didn't-
preview.
Yeah, a preview, but didn't want you to start yet. Now I'll tell you something. I was talking to Nate's partner Jim the other day,
Yeah.
and I said to him, look, I'm not real good at taking signs from God, because I never know if it's truly a sign from God or me rationalizing why it was a sign from God because I want it. And then I jokingly said, the sad thing is, the only time I get a sign from God, it has to be a flashing neon light. So I said to him, I think as much as I was excited about working with you guys, I think this conflict that Nathan and I had was a flashing neon light telling me that it's probably best not to. And I said, but I don't know, and I don't know if I'm rationalizing. And then that same day, you, me, John, and help me with your friend who's the AI expert's name.
Michael?
Oh no, the guy who was there.
Alberto.
Alberto. So we went through all that stuff, and everything that we had been talking about, John and I, and laying out, AI spelled it out on paper from us with just very basic understandings, to where it was everything that I have been saying that they needed to do, and we could help them do.
Yeah.
So we were done with that. I sent a text to Jim and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm as giddy as a little schoolgirl, was my exact text I sent him. I'm as giddy as a little schoolgirl, because everything we had been talked about, I didn't give him all the details, but this seems to be lining up and aligning itself. And then he sent back to me 2 words and a question mark, and it said neon light. It said flashing neon light with the question mark. And so I didn't respond to him. I did go pray about it, and as John and I have keep working on this, it is enlightening. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to say 3 things and then have a prayer before we close out. But one of them is Dave, because Nate, you think our little riff that we had was something? You should have seen Dave a couple of times and me. We almost killed each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were not happy with each other, but
We
but
talked for a couple of years, and one day there was a knock at my front door. I'm like, I wonder who that is. I opened the door and Dave was standing there and said, I thought I'd stop by and see if you were gonna kill me or let me in the door. And I said, come on in. So
yeah, I did do that, didn't I?
there's the flashing neon light Mike just showed us behind you.
Show it again so Nate can see. There's-
Freedom, nice.
So anyway, Dave, I appreciate you for our relationship and your love and friendship. John, I appreciate the same with you, that your love and friendship. And Nate, I will tell you this: the one thing that I know for sure about you, the one thing that I know is you truly have a loving heart, and it shows in what you do and say. And I look forward to years ahead where we have the same kind of relationship, bound with love and friendship. So we'll see how it all comes together. But I am taking these things as neon lights because I've had myself in the last week talked out of this deal most of the time, and John just keeps nudging along with me, and we keep working on it. And I'm excited to see if you guys are as excited as we are with it. And if you are, we move forward. If not, doesn't mean we aren't still going to be friends. But I appreciate everybody being on this phone call tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Colin.
Yeah.
Yep, thanks.
I appreciate you, man. All those words of sentiment, man, they ring true for me, man. You know, we're both very passionate, you know, and when it comes to this community, and I've been given a stewardship to it, and just everything that I'm doing and everyone that I'm committed to, I'm just so steadfast in just, you know, serving all these people. And I don't know why God is doing this to me, but he is sending more opportunities in front of me than I can possibly get harnessed in and take full advantage of and reach that potential. I don't know why. It's just, I mean, every day, every single day, there's just an amazing thing presenting itself. And, I'm pretty good now at saying no to the bad ideas, right? And the good ideas that are actually disguised as bad ideas, or they're disguised as good ideas. You know, I'm getting even better at saying no to that. But man, I know that I'm good enough, that I've attracted enough good people to surround myself, that I can be the sum of those people I surround myself with, and just I manifest it. It's crazy. I literally, like David, I mean, you can visualize that you can do anything that you put your mind to. You can, and I mean, I'll be 52 next month, right? But like, I still feel like, that young ambition that, you feel a lot less of when you're 60 and 70 years old, right? And, I've reached that phase in life where,
Well, I don't know. I know a couple of 66-year-olds on this phone call that are still pretty energetic about making stuff happen.
Well, I've got a lot of piss and vinegar, and sometimes I get the best of myself because of that. Because I need to get a little bit older and a little bit wiser about it.
Well, I think with you, Nate, especially with your heart, is that you need to really start creating a roadmap so you can go after the things that you really love. Because the one thing is for sure, you get pulled in too many directions and haven't been real good at saying no about them. You just dive in, which is very admirable, but it makes it tougher for you. I think if you release some of those loads, it will give you better direction on how to take advantage of some of those things that you've had long time dreams and desires about.
I'm ready to let go of the anchors for sure. It's like, I got Jim on the phone with Alicia Turner the other day, who's one of my deep contact relationships, someone I've known for 25 years that is in the lead generation industry. I don't know if Jim told you, but she does lead generation for Liberty Mutual, Geico, Home Depot, like they have 350 million piece of data set, but it's the sharks. It's where the sharks swim, right? It's real media buy, publisher affiliates that generate leads. They track things way more hardcore than we do, but she wants to work with us. And she's like, I'm going to get you into my publishers, and because I'm helping her with her thing. She has a thing where there are women that have been sex trafficked and in prostitution, that she's got this thing called Queens of Digital Marketing, where they're working with those women that have gone through that to show them how. So I'm going to be coaching a lot of those women for free with her, and in exchange, it's just working out so perfectly where, you know, we're going to probably be able to run our offers to, you know, hundreds of publishers, 350 million emails that they have that they're going to push out. They're going to come in and pick up the offers. I mean, we'll see what happens, but just everything that I'm manifesting is falling into place, right? And man, I'd love for you guys to be a part of it. You know, there's a reason why we met, you know, and I think we do balance each other. And you know, you and I, Cal, we fight for our ideas and we make shit happen, right? We make shit happen. And, you know, but I've got to let go in order to really do what I'm truly capable of doing for us. And I'm putting the pieces in place. I've got people right now today that I've put in as silo leaders for all of these things that I can now let go of, so I can focus on the bigger picture of what needs to be done to really serve people. I've been serving people the best way I know how, but the best way I know how isn't the best way. There are better ways, right? So, you know,
Well, the one thing I tell my kids is the reason, if I'm an expert at anything, it's only because I did everything wrong before I learned the right way. And sometimes that is the best lesson. It's the best training ground. You're like, I don't ever want to do it that way again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely, I've escaped making a lot of mistakes because I've sat back and watched other people make the mistakes, right? I've not had the failure, the build a business and build everything and everything's going great, and then it just everything fails and crashes, right? And you lose everything and have to start over.
Well,
that's happened to me.
Nate, I'm gonna ask you a favor. I want you to think of some people that I could do sessions for that are influencers or influential or well known, and I'm going to start getting out there with the stuff I do, and if there's some people that are influential or rich or powerful or in some way have some sort of following that where I can help them through wherever it is that they are on the level that they're at, and help them move to another level in a way that gets me to the point where I start creating an audience for what I do.
I think that you need to do an event there, and I've got, I guarantee 10 people that'll pay $10,000, and we can sell it for, I don't know, what's the best time to do it for you? 3 months from now? 2 months from now? Plan it out. I've got a bunch of people that are, the gal that I was telling you, that Ashlyn Haddon, her insurance agency, she's going to start sending us leads for entity and trust. I just started with this new group that they do all the land trusts and entity setups and Nevada corporations and irrevocable trusts and revocable trusts and for corporation structure and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. We're going to start selling that, but she's going to send leads. But she would be like a relationship. I'd say, hey, Ashlyn, you need to come to an enlightenment retreat, a self-awareness experience with David Nuren and I'm inviting you personally. Now it costs 10 grand to do it, but and you could do it small groups, right?
Okay,
And
well,
then
it sounds like one of your new seminars you're promoting, and that sounds to me like there's a 50% commission in there. And so
yeah, I mean,
I'll be one of your guys' new projects.
I think just to do it, I mean, Jim and I have a list easily of clients and customers and relationships.
You want to hear a funny story about that? 30 years ago, I had a friend that I was helping him get his deal and group going. Access, Gary Douglas of Access Consciousness. We talked nearly every day for 2 years, and at the beginning it was so broke that I was twisting Colley's arm to finance one of his cars he had for sale for him for $5 grand, and I don't know what he makes now, but I would not be shocked to hear it was $50 or $100 million each year from what he does now. And any rate, it's yes, doing some a retreat like that, an intensive, for 4 or 5 days straight, with an objective to have 3 or 4 2-hour sessions a day for 4 days, interspersed with some of the magic people I know down here that have their own, awesome experience that would enhance what I do too. But yeah, put together a small group once a month for 4 or 5 days, and practice with that for a while, and then do a larger one.
Yeah, I definitely have influence over some people where I, as their coach, saying, listen, my biggest issue, and something that rings, that I can't even believe that you said it, Cal, because I say it all the time. I am the biggest asset and the way biggest liability to my business, to myself. I am the biggest obstacle in my life, way more than anyone.
Yeah. Nobody else comes close.
Yeah. And I think that when you tell people that, it lights a fire under their seat. And when they have that realization that they can do something about it, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do something about it, right? And it'll cost you 10 grand to do it. But, it'll be the best 10 grand you've ever spent in your life, because what you can ascertain from it is way beyond any
And you know what the other cool thing is? For each one of them, and whatever that experience was, and the words that I said during it that touched them or inspired them the most, I will make a painting out of that moment, and for them to take home with them.
Oh, that would be
And
cool.
that flipping painting is very, very likely to make them a nice multiple on their investment.
And even like maybe even a conference type of situation where we bring in you. I think Paul Stamitz, who is the mushroom guy.
Yeah, I like him.
Like him, someone like a Gary Brecka, someone like, and I mean, not too crazy heavy hitters or whatever, right? But it's like the enlightenment or the consciousness conference, right? And and you don't do it here in America. You make them travel. You separate the
Well,
curious.
I know where the location is. The location is Playa del Carmen, Mexico.
Who doesn't want to go there?
Yeah.
Well, Whoever doesn't want to go here doesn't know how to treat themselves well.
But the key is they'll keep coming back, and then they'll bring people with them. Like someone like Ashlyn, she's a good friend of mine. Like she did her first like ayahuasca trip, like I think it was like last year or the year before last, and she's come back totally a different person. But she's still needing breakthrough. I mean, but aren't we all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she realizes it, and she's receptive, and she's a high level business person. She's one of the top people in the insurance game for Amazon sellers. Like she's the number one seller of insurance. She owns a massive successful business doing right. So successful business owners. It's, you know, I mean, it can be for your people too. But like what we used to do with Cubby. So we used to do whitewater rafting trips with Boeing and Xerox, and I mean some of the people I would meet. But you'd get the middle managers and the CEOs in the same boat rowing down the whitewater, right? And those type of activities like that, although it carries some pretty heavy liability, you gotta have some crazy insurance to do it. But experience. People don't want to buy something; they want an experience.
Yeah, of course.
But
And the only thing that actually creates change it's not the teaching, because to truly learn something, to truly understand it, you have to experience it. It doesn't matter how much I tell you about an apple, if you've never seen one or eaten one, you're not going to know it till you eat one, regardless of what you learn about it through descriptions of it. So the point is what experiences can we have with each other and by ourselves that result in that transformational shift, that opening and awakening and remembering of who you are, unencumbered by all programming. Remove the programming, remove the suppression, remove the dams and the belief systems. And what's underneath that doesn't need to be fixed. It doesn't need to be defined. It doesn't need to grow into anything. It's that thing that's always perfect and always will be, and that's why you be still and experience the kingdom of heaven within yourself. Because if you do that, then from that point on, whatever we do with our lives, whatever work we do and however we communicate, we're going to do it from a place where what we do is good for ourselves and good for everybody else. And what we say is the same. We're a benefit to ourselves and to everybody else, and that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to experience, and that's the experience I want to share with everybody now, regardless of however I was confused and idiotic and a failure or whatever else it was before. Now I don't care about. It doesn't matter anymore. And neither does anybody else's. The before this moment doesn't matter. We haven't even got any proof that it's real. Everything we could be a prompt. And all we've got is a consciousness that has a memory bank that who the hell know how it was created. But if we can truly understand ourselves beyond definitions and beyond identities, then whatever it is that we choose to do and say won't define us, but they'll be a reflection of what we are authentically. And so.
Interesting thing about George Foreman is they still don't, he died March 21st, and they still don't know the exact cause of death. It still remains unknown.
Huh. I didn't hear that.
Interesting.
When did he die?
March 21st this year.
Oh, I didn't hear about it.
I know that's weird. I remember it, but I mean, you'd think it would be a little bit bigger deal than it was.
Yeah.
It happened quietly. So
All
yeah,
right. Well, I'm gonna go to bed, but you guys wanted to close with
Kali, you going to say a prayer, or should we?
Yeah, I'd like to. So
Should we each take a minute? Go ahead. Start.
I'll start it out and then we'll just pass it on. Father God, I just want to thank you for these men, for this conversation, for the good, the bad, and the ugly that has crossed over in our lives to one another, as well as watching each one of these men go through their own struggles and become better for it. We appreciate Dave's love that he wants to share not only with us, but others. And we appreciate the love that you gave us, Father God, by bringing your only Son for our sins and our ability to continue to have freedom of choice and sometimes make good decisions and often make bad ones, but always get grace regardless which way we do. We just want to thank you, God. We ask you to continue to allow us to lean into you for your guidance, for your wisdom, for your love and your grace. And I just thank you for this evening and the guys on this phone. It was a true blessing.
Is this where we say amen?
man.
Amen. Or either that, or you could just keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just waiting to see if you were done. John, you want to say something?
I just want to say, I just want to bring like happiness to everyone, and I want my life to be more happy. I just want to, like, I've hit the point. We've hit our halfway point in our life, in my opinion, and I just want to like only do fun things with people that I enjoy being around and have a good time and make money while doing it. So that's what my
Nice.
focus is, in not in just Vita Elixir, but in everything in my life, in every facet.
Well, here. Would like to.
So I approach this project, any project that I'm involved in, with that intent. I don't think it's worth it in our lives anymore to struggle or to focus on things that we do because we're just trying to make money to do it. I want to do things because I enjoy the players that are involved in the project, and it's something that I can have fun with and be a part of something bigger that's a joyful exercise.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Mike, you got anything you want to say? Amen.
Amen.
Just grateful that we had this opportunity to be all here together, be able to learn from each other's experiences, their stories, take note from the mistakes, and move forward for a better future.
Amen.
Amen.
Nathan?
I'm blessed that we have the wisdom to make the connection and leave our mark in a way that is profoundly changing people's lives. I don't want to do it because we can. I want to do it because we should. Right? I want to serve people so well that we go down in history and as the greatest of that. Right? Like that's always been.
Why not? Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. Just be the best, the very, very best at what we do.
So I'll elaborate on that just a little bit, so you can get a concept of how far away we are from the best that we could be. And so I'm going to make up an analogy. So if you took all of the intelligence of every person on the earth and everyone that's ever lived on the earth and everyone that ever will live on the earth, along with all the other beings in the universe, everything that's being something, everything that was created within to occupy form and structure, and thereby their consciousness is limited by that. You take all of that put together throughout all time and all space, and you times it by 1,000, and you compared that to the truth of you that's beyond time and beyond space, beyond dimensions, beyond realities. And if that was side by side with you, you wouldn't be able to notice the other part. So, the infinite and eternal nature of unidentified, unencumbered consciousness is beyond the sum total of all creation. And so, if in our opening, we can open to that which is beyond universal, beyond eternal, to that original consciousness that might have said to itself, well, a new universe right here would be fun. Objectively, it was in the palm of its hand, and there it is. Now, 13.8 billion years later, if you go back to the point before the universe existed, you had to be part of what it was before then. So whatever that consciousness was that gave rise to all existence, notice that travel through time and space of everything in the universe culminating in your experience of consciousness in this body right now as that original intention for the universe to be, and see if that creates some more freedom for your experience of yourself in the body. I know that's a pretty big thing to get your head around, but it's a useful tool in exploring what the limits of consciousness are.
Wow.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen, Dave.
Well, this is the longest session I've done in years. I've done some as long as 3 hours before, but in the last year they tend to have gone below an hour, and sometimes only half hour. But at any rate, it's enjoyable for me. Thanks for indulging the fact that I wanted to try this, because again, I'd like to bring that space of choosing to open and to transform and remember and be what we might have wished for us to manifest here from a divine point of view at a moment in time where yeah, I'm going to come in here and do this, and then at this particular moment in time, everything changes, and we enter the next phase of life. So,
Well, I will tell you this. I think I've told every one of you guys this. Because I was born on 11/11, when 11:11 pops up in front of me, I know it's a good thing, and it's 11:11 right now.
On that, good night.
The other
Good
day when
luck.
Yeah.
We'll all talk soon, if not
All right, guys.
tomorrow.
God bless you. Take care. Thanks.
Good night. Bye.
I was David.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Guys, tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.